Hello again, the Math Dog here. This is a trigonometry video. Specifically, I'm going to derive the trig identity. Sine of the difference of two angles, or the sine of a minus b, is the sine of a times cosine of b minus cosine of a times sine b. This video does rely heavily on material I presented in a previous video. Sine of the sum of two angles, a plus b, equals cosine of a times sine of b plus sine of a times cosine of b. So I'm going to use this property plus some properties of odd and even functions for sine and cosine. So let's get started. So again, I'm going to show that the sine of the difference of two angles is equal to the sine of a times the cosine of b minus cosine a times sine b. So this is the property I'm going to be using to do this proof here. The sine of the sum of two angles is the cosine of a times the sine of b plus the cosine of b times the sine of a. So thus, we're trying to prove that sine of a minus b is this. So I'm going to start by rewriting the sine of a minus b as the sine of a plus the negative of b, because subtraction is defined as adding the opposite of a number. So now I'm going to replace b everywhere in this property with negative b. So this is going to be the cosine of a sine of the negative of b. I'm just following everywhere there's a b, I'm replacing it with negative b, plus cosine of negative b sine of a. Alright, well, cosine is even. As I've discussed before, an even function is such that f of x, some function f of x will equal f of negative x. So for cosine is even, as described again before. So therefore the cosine of negative b, in this case, will equal the cosine of b. So we're going to make that substitution very shortly. And then sine is odd. If some function f is odd, that means that f of x equals the negative of f of negative x. So therefore, in the case of sine, let's also rearrange this. So this means that f of negative x equals, if I divide here by -1, that means f of negative x is the negative of f of x. So in the case of sine, that's going to mean sine of b, or the sine of negative b, is equal negative sine b. So we're going to use this property to replace sine negative b with negative sine b here. So coming down with our proof, or derivation, we have the cosine of a. I'm replacing sine of negative b with negative sine b. And then plus, I'm replacing cosine of negative b with cosine of b times sine of a. Let's be consistent, put a parentheses there. So now I'm going to put this in front. So I have the sine of a times cosine b minus the cosine of a sine b. And this equals what we're trying to prove. We're trying to again show that the difference of sine the difference of two angles, let's put it that way, or sine of a minus b. So we've got our final conclusion here. Sine of a minus b is going to equal this, which is sine of a times cosine of b minus cosine of a times sine of b. Okay, there it is. All right, that concludes the presentation here for why the sine of the difference of two angles is this. So if you found this video informative and you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, The Math Dog. That would be greatly appreciated. You may share the content of this video with others. Thank you and have a good day.